Um,
Right
um,
on.
I'm more discombobulated. I'm meant to be buying a house at the moment, and it's
Oh, okay.
buying it just and then my car got broken into and burned out.
Oh
That was like
shit. What?
so. I've just been raced, and it just causes so much disruption.
Oh my
It just
God, I'm sorry.
no.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it to get sympathy really. Um, it's just the amount of disruption involved in it is insane. The amount of
Yeah.
paperwork
Yeah.
chasing around. I don't know if it's ever
Yeah.
happened to you.
It's
You have to have
happened.
right. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it happened to you, but I understand how it feels. And it's just, of
Yeah.
course, because I was meant to be moving house, I had a load of my stuff in the back, so I now have to make an inventory of all the things I lost. It's
Oh, wow. Sorry.
anyway. Oh well. Anyway, sorry. That I mean, I'm a bit I'm a bit disorganized at the best of times, but that's just added to it. Anyway, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. I really appreciate it. You're one of the first people who's done this. We don't really know each other. So most of the people who've done this for me, I'm a university lecturer at UCC. I mostly study human sexuality, but
Okay.
and human sexual behavior. So most of the people who've done this are folk who are sort of in that kind of field, and sort of know either through personally or through conferences or whatever. But you're a little bit different from that, in that I first heard it 15, 20 years ago, maybe, when I was just out. There was a guy called Stephen who was a lawyer over in the UK. I've forgotten his name. He was talking about transitioning. And this is 20 years ago, remember, when transitioning was not front page news like it was now. And there was a talk at the Wellcome Institute, which is a sort of major medical centre in London. And I was right front and talked to this guy. And that was the first person I'd ever spoken to closely who changed their sex. And that was kind of fascinating. And it was a very fringe thing. I mean, I don't mean change. I mean, just, it wasn't front and center, in the news like it is now. And in the last, and your name was mentioned. He had a picture of you, and you were kind of his idol. He's quite a famous. I'm sorry, I forgot his last name. He's a lawyer. He's a human rights campaigner. He's quite famous.
Awesome.
Using you as a sort of as an example of kind of I'd say it's a bit of a role model, I suppose, as well. So that was where I first heard of you, just to set the scene here. And of course, it was fascinating to me as a psychologist. I'm fascinated by what's involved. How does somebody know what's it like to feel you're in the wrong body? What help is given? How things change the rest of the world? And I suppose I've heard you on people. Dan Savage is. Do you know there's a group called SexNet?
Oh no, I don't.
So Mike Bailey runs a listserv. Mike Bailey's who studies a lot of transgender folk. He's got a blog, not a blog. So he's got an online listserv. Dan Savage is a big part of that. He tends to dip in and out of it.
Wow, I didn't know. I should join it. Yeah,
you probably should. It's a very broad church. He likes to bring in all kinds of interesting folk, people who've got an interesting perspective. So anyway, that's where I'm going.
Excellent. Yeah, no, Dan Savage is a really good friend of mine. I love Dan. We do work together. He's great.
Well, I've been following his blog for ever since I got into the field, really, because I my students to listen to his stuff because all human life is there, somewhere.
Right. Excellent.
And I mean, I suppose something I've noticed over the last few years is that we're all roughly the same age. I've just turned 50.
Yeah. I'm 58.
You're 58. Wow, you're good for 58. Jeez. Okay, but we're the same generation. Okay.
Yeah, we are.
And one of the things, and Dan Savage is a few years older than me, although we actually we share a birthday. We have the same, October the 7th.
Excellent.
Just by a weird coincidence. And one thing that struck me is that, is there a generational thing going on here? Does it always go on with sex? In that the people who were the liberals and the people who were broad-minded, the people who are progressive, are the ones that the next generation are turning around and going, no, that's not enough. We want more progress. We want more progress in the wrong direction or in a different direction. That's an impression I get. Is that your impression? I was interested in your perspective on it.
Yes, as an elder trans man, and I consider
Right.
myself a transsexual man, which, as you know,
Oh,
even the use of the word transsexual is considered derogatory or outdated, which I disagree with, and I fight for that. And
oh,
so
well,
I
we'll
have
come
a
back to
whole,
that because I'd like to
yeah,
ask you about that
totally.
too.
Totally. No, I have a whole other opinion about what's happening today and where I stand in that
Hmm.
conversation. 100% it's generational. It's the same with the gay male
Hmm.
community. It's generational. They don't even talk about AIDS. They don't even think AIDS is even like they don't even care. And I come from the space of where all my friends died of AIDS. So,
Which is a right. That was, I mean, that
yes.
was a, yeah, that was that. I mean, I mean, I'm not gay, but I mean,
Uh-huh.
my mum was in prison, so we became
Uh-huh.
aware of the AIDS
Yep.
epidemic slightly
Yep.
earlier than the general population.
Wait,
But
what
yeah,
country are you in? What country are you in?
I live in Ireland, but
Oh,
my mum
Ireland.
worked.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
from the UK, but I've
Okay.
lived in
Yeah.
Ireland for a long time.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that was definitely a kind of a baptism of fire for the gay community. I would have. I mean, it felt like,
Yes.
where
Oh,
we had people pointing fingers, going, "This is
yes.
God's wrath on
That's
you.
right.
This is your
That's right.
punishment, your
That's
sinfulness."
right.
I suppose the impression I got is it kind of drew the gay community together in some ways, but
Yes,
that's
it did. That's a great observation because I was a gay woman at the time, so I was a lesbian, and so really, we as the lesbians, we were like sort of the troopers who really made sure that our gay male family was taken care of. A lot of us really helped with the hospitalization, all of it. We really came together as a family of gay men and gay women, and that's the one thing that I see missing today. There's a very big disconnect, generational as well as just community. There's a disconnect.
okay. So this is an impression I've had from a couple of students who've told me things. I mean, for example, one said a thing to me the other day which I found fascinating, and
Hmm.
you'll tell me what you think of this.
Hmm.
Um, Now you got this LGBT, and I was saying that it's hard to keep up with the nomenclature because letters keep getting added. And she said, well, the thing you have to understand is that LGBT isn't a list; it's a hierarchy, and that was the phrase she used. I thought, well, that's
Wow.
interesting. So it's almost like there's well, I mean, that was the term she used. She said there's a hierarchy there, and her claim was that trans people are on the bottom of it. And let's
That's
just go
not
back a
true.
couple. No, I know, but she was from a different generation, so I wanted
Yes.
what your
Yes.
generation thought of that.
Yes.
It struck me.
So my generation would say, I transitioned 25 years ago, been in this community 30 plus years. I'm going to tell you that today the T is on top of the LGB because prior to that, yes, we were the stepchild. We were the ones that were the more weirder ones. We were the ones that we didn't talk. Today, don't even try that shit. The T literally dominates the LGB. And I'm telling you that as somebody who's been in this community for a long
Okay.
time. And so that's not
So
true. The
I mean,
hierarchy.
so what's changed then? How did that happen?
That is a great question, my friend. So, how the hell did this happen? Now, on one side, as an elder and someone who struggled so hard to get where I am, I didn't have internet. I didn't have, a
Mhm,
community. I had nothing. I transitioned in a time of really a lone wolf, if that,
mhm,
for that lack of a better expression. But that said, so today, fast forward, oh my God, all these kids get to have their gender, talk about it, be trans. I'm so grateful to see that. But what has also happened is an actual co-opting of a community that once was, this is what transgender is. It used to be gender dysphoria, medical transition, understanding that we didn't feel the way we did and we want to present to the world as men and women. Today,
mhm.
it has nothing to do with that. It's an
Right,
identity choice. It is not my identity. Trans is not my identity. My identity is male. Trans
right,
is part of who
right.
I am, but it is not. So you see now today it's an identity. It's become a thing totally different than me. And so that's why, and it's also become a lot of youngsters really
Mhm,
claiming trans gives it more of power. The more people you have attached to an idea, the more
mhm,
power it becomes. And so you got a lot of youth attached to being trans. And so
mhm.
there's a lot that we can discuss in this, and a lot as an elder that I see that is actually could be a little dangerous. But that said, just in a blanket statement, I'm going to tell you it's phenomenal, and it's amazing to watch kids be able to talk about this and to take a bigger step up.
Well, I mean, as a sexual researcher, it's fascinating to watch things that were sort of
Yeah.
previously some people would sort of go, really, is that a thing that can happen? To suddenly everyone has an opinion about it. But it's your opinions I'm interested in. So you tell me,
Yeah.
what do you think is the most pressing thing at the moment? I'd be
Okay,
intrigued.
great. Yeah, there's a lot here, but what I'm going to tell you is something that's very controversial. And you know me, if you don't know me, I'm very controversial because I do speak my
No,
mind.
never.
I'm not fearful to speak my mind, my friend. I'm too old. And you know what? And also, I'm not here to win friends, and I'm not here to be popular, and I'm not here to get 100 million likes or fans. I'm here because I'm an elder who sees things that could be detrimental to the future of this community. Whether you believe me or not, that's okay. But it is my job as a person who has been watching and been. So the number one thing that I think we really have to get really structured, and it can turn into such a dangerous space, it already is the transitioning of youngsters, meaning people under the age of 15, 8, 9, 10, 11, literally taking hormone blockers. I'm trans, like just saying I'm trans, and no one questions it. No one questions a 10-year-old saying I'm trans. Are you kidding me? Kids play with gender. I'm talking to somebody who understands sexuality and humanity and how humans are always changing their mind, especially youngsters. So for me, it's the youngsters, and it's this idea that we can transition a youngster at 10 without any mental health care. That is my major concern right now.
And also without parental, I mean, there's this sort of dangerous thought, I think, that if your parents are a little uncomfortable about it, which parents are often very uncomfortable about it, you sort of go, well, I mean, you're either going to kill your child if you don't do this, which seems very important to me, or, well, we'll just take over. And who are these adults who are stepping in at this point? That seems to me to be dangerous not to take a very close look at anybody stepping in.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that a lot, because it's not okay.
Become controversial? I'm fascinated by how it's become what you seem to be saying here is something that would seem quite commonsensical. How is that associated with? You've said nothing hateful. It seems to me.
Right.
You've said nothing that has any hate in it anywhere.
Nothing.
How is it that if you said what you've just said on Twitter, you might actually be permanently banned from Twitter for saying that?
No, I say it all the time, and the reason I'm not banned, I say it all the time. I have, Twitter actually cannot ban me because I'm a transsexual man and I'm an elder and I'm entitled to have this opinion. Now, if it was you could be called transphobic, a TERF, blah, 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 and they can shut your voice down. But they cannot shut my voice down because I'm a trans, and it is why I am powerful, and also why people in this community fear me, because I do speak about this, and I also speak about, this is the dirty word, my friend, detransitioning.
Right, yes.
That's right.
It feels like there is a time bomb that is about to go off for people.
You got it.
I mean, children of 5-10 years ago, where you've got sort of there have been cases of 12-year-old girls having full mastectomies. This seems to me quite an alarming thing to do unless you're very, very sure of what's going on here. And they're going to worry why we let them do this. Now you're taking your responsibilities morally seriously as a member of the generation. A lot of us don't. We're sort of go, well, it's the young people, it's the crazy young people. I don't think it's quite right. You can't just let the young people get on with it. What happens, do you think? How is it that who is it that stepped in at this point? Because I know at, say, the Tavistock Institute, which is in London, they report a 2,400% increase in what they call rapid onset gender dysphoria.
Rapid onset gender dysphoria,
the people who publicized this, they came out, there was a group that came after them. I think it's a very big group, it's a very vocal group, came after them and try to shut them. Who are those people? Why are they doing what they're doing?
That's excellent. Thank you. First off, in the UK, it's a shit show. Really? Okay. It is horrible, and it's coming over to Ireland. Just so you know, be prepared. It's actually, I don't know. This is actually such a great question for me, because I'm not the only one who questions who are these people who have such power. They have power over everything. And they've created a space where people are too fearful to have what me and you are having, this conversation of questioning whether or not a 10-year-old actually knows that they're not in the right gender, and whether or not we should be giving children medical assistance at 10 years old, even 8, and whether or not they should be having mastectomies. What country, where do we live? That I don't care if everyone in the world hates me. I do not care. It is my responsibility as an elder, as an adult, and as a father, I have a child, to look at this as something that could be, I always use my own child. I say, if my child said this, would I actually give my child surgery? No, I would not. And I'm a trans person. So, you know, I'm not just blowing shit up your ass or smoke. I'm literally saying this is detrimental. I am not saying these kids are not trans. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying they could be, yes. But why are we not having any mental health care? You know, you just go straight from I'm trans to all of a sudden to a doctor, and all of a sudden to hormones, and all of a sudden with no of this. You and I know you're you're a psychologist. You know that.
I want to just say for the record, I'm not a clinician. I train clinics.
Yes, but you understand. But as
the next
somebody,
generation, I don't necessarily I don't do therapy myself. I work with a lot of therapists. Just in case.
But you're thank you for that. But you're connected to mental health care.
Sure. Oh no, I teach a master's in mental health at UCC.
There you go. I'm
we're
big on mental health. I'm here. The reason I'm this man right here is because I have done a shit ton of mental health care. Before I transitioned, I went 10 years to a therapist to figure myself out. Now, I will tell you, it's the number one thing you need to do for transition. The number one thing. Nothing else. Nothing else. Number one thing. Because
you get your head straight around it.
Yes, come on, man. Like, really, it's like, yeah, I feel like a boy, but maybe there's some other stuff going on here. Maybe it is connecting to my sexuality. Maybe it's just me seeing things in the world and being at 10 or 8, you're very susceptible to things and growth and changing your mind. My 8-year-old changes his mind constantly. Like, what? One day he wants to play with Legos. The next day he wants to play Zoom or Doom on the PlayStation. Like, I see it.
One suggestion that I've heard, I'd be interested in your perspective on this. So I remember learning that I think the country that gives you the most support for transitioning is Iran, and so people go, oh, that's terrible thinking of them. Of course, you know, you delve into that, quite quickly, and there's a reason for that. Is because they don't believe homosexuality is real.
That's right.
So if you think you're homosexual, they go, no, you're in the wrong body, and if you don't believe this, then you're in real trouble. So. The one suggests, I mean, is something like that happening? Are we watching erasure of homosexuality? Is that part of what's happening?
Yes. Oh my God. I mean, really, it sounds so crazy. It does, but it's not a crazy thought, because back in the day when I transitioned, what they said to me was this: maybe you're a gay woman. They literally gave me that to put in my brain. And maybe I was a gay woman, and maybe I tried it, and maybe it didn't work. But they literally said that to me all the time. Now they never say it. They never, ever say it. They immediately go to transgender. So yeah, this is a great point. Iran does that because they're anti-homosexual. So of course they'll make you a lady or a man. So that's a great parallel, my friend. That's an excellent parallel.
Does it explain all of it, or does it explain some?
No.
I should just say for the record, I interviewed. Do you know Vandy Beth Glenn?
Not sure.
I think no, she corrected me on this, so I'm gonna have to get it right.
Okay.
I thought she was the first person to successfully prosecute an employer for not recognizing her trans status, and she went, no, not even close. Then she went on to explain it in a way that sounded very close to what I just said, but I'm sure I got a detail wrong.
Okay.
But anyway, she didn't like the whole idea of it being homosexual erasure. She was going, no, that's not the case, and I didn't want to push her too hard on this.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested in what your take is on the idea of being homosexual erasure, because I'm aware that there are multiple voices within the community on this, and and obviously we're already well into territory which gets people very upset very quickly, and so
that's right.
We know.
But I don't know why people get, sir. I don't know why people get upset, because it's conversation. You and I know we're not, me and you aren't going to agree on everything, but we have
Sure.
conversation, which enables me to learn from you and maybe change my mind about some things, and you the same with me. So I don't understand. This is one of the major problems I have with the transgender community today, and the hierarchy within the transgender community. But these voices telling us we're not allowed to have our own thought outside of, or it's transphobic. This to me, I see cult-like behavior. That's cult-like behavior when you tell people within a community, never once in the gay, and I'm also in the gay male community, never once have they said in the gay male community, you can't say that, that's gay phobic, or that's homo. They've never said that. So this is why I'm not an idiot. I've been in these communities for a long time, and I'm very aware of silencing voices that do not pertain to your actual party line. And that's what I see.
And of course, I'm from the UK. Politics has become horribly polarized at the moment in America.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into politics itself, but I mean, I don't think anyone could look at it and go, "Oh yes, it's all kind of we're having productive conversations with one another."
Right.
I don't think anyone could look at it and say that. It gets very very quickly. It seems particularly egregious within a community that has almost everybody within the LGBT, however many pluses you want to put on the end of that, some level of abuse because of that element of themselves. It seems egregious that people within that community find it hard to talk to each other about precisely the kind of things they wish that everyone else could talk to them about. Is that, am I making some sense there?
Oh, totally. Totally.
I mean, I suppose my background is biology, so there is a part of it. I mean, it goes, well, yes, of course, because humans are always in competition with each other.
Yes.
There's always a competitive element to sexuality.
Yes.
Why would anyone think, I mean, feminists sort of go, oh, well, there's a patriarchy, and you sort of go, really, do you think that them get together and share interests? Because do the women get together and share interests? Do you never get each other's...
Excellent. Excellent.
I mean, is that what we're seeing are we seeing that in the LGBT community? Are we seeing elements of the community essentially in competition with each other because you are competing for resources, and the resources you're competing for are sexual partners? And so there are some people going, we're shoving these people out because we can. Is that,
That's exactly right. I do feel a part of it. Yes, is competition to be heard, or who is more, or that's why I'm telling you, the T is now on top. And it has, and also I'm going to tell you, I really do believe there's some form of indoctrination happening. Now, not the whole thing, but a very specific part of this community is how I see indoctrination with young girls. I do see it. And I was a young girl, so I'm not saying, and some of these young girls most definitely are trans and are trying to move, but there's a lot. You just said the percentage has been like 2,000 more percent or some crazy in the UK.
That was Tavistock. I don't know about general figures, but yeah.
But yeah. I mean that those figures are almost are being.
I mean, that's the kind of percentage increase you see with COVID. I mean, we're talking about an epidemic.
Right.
I mean, is it really the case that many people were always trans? It seems
it happened to. And it happened too quick. It wasn't like over a period of time. That's the thing that has me going, wait a minute. And most people like biologists or researchers were like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Well, I personally will tell you, it's the internet. It's the internet, it's YouTube, it's TikTok, it's Twitter. I'm trans. They created hashtags that say trans is beautiful. That's alluring. They're alluring. If you become trans, your whole life is going to be amazing and blah, blah, blah. They are misinforming these children. I would never want anybody to be transgender. This is not a fun thing. I just wanted to be born a man, and I got born a woman, and I had to fix the situation. Why would I want anyone to ever be trans? So that says indoctrination to me. That's like the gay man. Okay, could you imagine if gay men were going out and seeking out young men, okay, and going on the internet and saying, yeah, you're 15, maybe you're gay. They would call them pedophiles. They would call them pedophiles. Yet why are these trans people luring kids in? And that's not weird. That's weird. I mean,
okay. I mean, that's a radical suggestion. I mean, it's what I was skirting around the edges of, and of course it becomes very toxic very
It,
quickly, because you're
yes,
not suggesting for a moment that that's the whole of, you're
that's
suggesting that there are
right.
predators. Are you, oh, well,
There
sorry, I'm
are
putting words in your mouth.
predators.
Are there predators exploiting the situation?
Robert, there are predators. I don't care what
Right.
anybody says in
Sure.
any way, shape, or form. They can go over there. There are predators that are taking on this situation because predators are predators. That's what they
Mhm.
do. They find spaces in order to get, what do you think sex trafficking is? All of that. It's predators, and they find a way to use a specific space in order to get through it. 100% there are predators within the transgender community who are using it in order to
Mhm.
get the space. And I don't care if people are going to believe it or not. And it's irresponsible for us as transgender community not to have this discussion. It is
So
irresponsible.
you're not afraid to have this discussion, and there's a few others. What's happened to everyone else, do you think?
They drank the
Or do you just like
Kool-Aid.
a scrap? You just enjoy a scrap, perhaps.
No, I don't. I'm actually a guy who wants the
Oh, I didn't
world
mean
to.
that in a bad way. I'm sorry.
No, yeah,
I
I'm
meant
not scared of people. Yeah, that's true. I'm not. I actually have balls of steel. It's a real thing. I am not scared of people.
Joe Rogan says this about you.
Yeah, right on,
I,
right on. You know,
he knows the
because
fight.
yeah,
Sorry.
he too. He's also not scared. So that said, the reason I'm not scared, my friend, is because I know what I'm saying. I'm not being irresponsible. I'm being irresponsible if I don't say anything. And that's the thing. I'm not here to win friends. I don't care. I'm not here to be popular. I'm here because I see the future of a generation being taken down. And this community saved my life. If it wasn't
Oh,
for this transition, I would not be here today. And it saved my life. And I don't want this to become something that cannot save lives. And people are not liking us now. The world is looking at transgender people like we're a bunch of fucking wingnuts. And we're not. This literally saved my, I can tell you, I'm the most successful person I could ever be. I didn't go to college, my friend. I didn't graduate high school. I have no formal education, and I'm not an idiot. And I created my own space, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I created businesses, all the things that I would have never been able to do if I did not transition. So you must understand, I see this as detrimental to the health of a community that literally saved my life. And I'm not going to stand around and watch people be sucked into something that is actually so dangerous and co-opting. They have co-opted my community, and it's disgusting, and I won't stand for it. I won't.
so historically, when did this start happening? Because is it just, did it come along with the? Am I right in the historical sort of pattern, which was that, so 20 years ago, I think no one had really heard of transitioning unless they happened to know something, or unless they were like me there, somebody was studying this. And then sort of something like 10 to 12 years ago, there was and then it was like COVID. There was an exponential kind of like feedback, and there was suddenly it was everywhere. And of course there were bits, and of course there were various sort of backlashes. I got the impression, one of the things that struck me is that something which was a highly technical issue that I would spend weeks on with students going through various kinds of intersex conditions. Now, that's not the same as transitioning, but we spend time looking at term and genital adrenal hyperplasia and alpha reductase deficiency. We spent a long time on each of these kinds of things, looking at the kind of detail of it. And at the end of it, students would, I hope, get a strong sense of just how complex human sexuality and sexual identity are, and all these kind of things. And then suddenly, sort of a few years later, I've got people I know, and they're nice people, they're decent people, they're well-rounded people, who think that all of that can be really reduced to a slogan that they learned, in a few minutes, and that kind of fascinates me. I mean, it's as if I suddenly walked into the physics department and said, "I can sort out quantum mechanics. I don't know why you've been bothered. It's perfectly quality quantum mechanics is all perfectly simple." And I'm kind of interested in how that happened.
I mean, as a biologist,
you understand complexity. Well, you understand the complexities from the inside in the way that other people, because you said you spent 10 years working through your feelings and working through your identity.
That's right.
That was a complicated thing, and it's obvious that you're an autodidact. You're someone who's studied and studied the things you need to study in order to be the kind of person you are. That's right. Didn't happen in an afternoon, I'm thinking. So one of the things that intrigues me about this is suddenly finding myself surrounded by people who feel entitled to an opinion on something so complicated. How did that happen? And
God,
well, here's one thought. I mean, here's one thought, and I'd just be interested
Yeah.
to know what you make of it.
Yeah.
One persistent belief that humans have is something philosophers call dualism. Their idea there is a mind that lives in a body. The body's made of some stuff. The mind's made of different stuff.
Okay.
Once you've got that kind of idea, it's got all kinds of difficulties with making any kind of sense of it. Once you've got that idea in you, if someone sort of takes that idea and says, well, what you really are, what your essence is that mind thing, and the body thing isn't your essence at all. And we can attach that notion to the idea that what you really are is you're the essence of a man or the essence of a woman, and that just happens to be in the wrong body. Now, I can sort of see why the people who are homophobic will latch onto that idea and go, oh yeah, no, that explains homosexuality. That's against nature. That's against God.
Right.
And we have to put you in the right body. So that would help explain those people. Does it also help explain the other people, the ones who aren't necessarily bigoted, they aren't necessarily homophobic, but they have got this idea that somehow there is soul stuff that's living in there, and it just happens to have found itself in the right place. And all you need to do, it's perfectly simple. The light goes on, you go, oh, that's why I'm unhappy. I'm just in the wrong body. That's all it takes. Does that fit? Does that fit with your experience of how people treat this, or I'm?
Yes, before what we see happening today. That's why, literally, my friend, I travel the world and I speak to very big corporations. I speak to all over. Look at me, and I put a suit on. But that said, I am a transsexual man, and these people who are bigoted, who actually hate people like me, literally leave my talks hugging me, telling me, "Thank you so much for taking the time to educate." So I'm going to tell you this. I know for a fact that people don't actually hate people like me. They actually want to know, why do I feel this way and how do I feel? That said, today we are forcing people to say, it doesn't matter if you like it or not, this is how it is. You can't, people have ideas, and they see me as taking a problem and fixing it. That's what they see. And they actually like that. What they see in a youth today is they don't see them fixing the problem. They see them taking something on and saying, if you don't like it, fuck off. That's not how you make people look at you and change things. And that says to me, why are we as a transgender community forcing the world to take us on? And if they don't, they're all transphobic and TERFs. That is a detrimental space to be in, and nobody will accept us. Nobody will, because we're literally saying wham. And so I do think people, the reason why I got into this world and literally moved through the world and now have people just look at me like a man is because I didn't force it. And I said, I just needed to fix this thing that didn't work together. And once I fixed those two things, and I became this person. But that said, not everybody is like me in the transgender world, and that's okay too. But those people need to start to educate, and they don't need to force. Forcing and educate are two different things. We need to educate. J.K. Rowling. When J.K. Rowling said blah, 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 by the way, I don't think she's transphobic. She just has feelings. She has feelings about a certain subject that affect her. Now, why can't she say that where trans people can say, I have these feelings and they're hurting me? Since when can trans people be the only ones who get their feelings hurt? So we're not having conversation. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please carry on.
No, I'm just saying we're not having conversation. The trans community is really at fault on a lot of levels, and I will say that because they're not coming to it to build bridges. They're coming to it to steamroll over everybody and say, "Fuck you if you don't like it. Tough shit. Good luck." Good luck. And all the work that I have done in this community to build bridges with you and blah is literally being torn down. And like, I'm not, as someone who's really been slamming, building bridges, I'm really disgusted in the way we have become so forceful.
Well, don't get pessimistic. I mean, I think you certainly educated people. And it can look a bit depressing when it looks like a public place where you can't discuss things. But I suppose that maybe it's just a personality thing. I'm generally optimistic about this. I think the arc does bend in the right direction eventually.
Yeah.
I there's some wiggle in it.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged by the fact that so take for example Joe Rogan. You're on his show. This is something I've watched. I think I used to be into mixed martial arts myself, so I was kind of dim. And then he has this show where he brings on scientists, philosophers, interesting, and they will have long form conversation, 2 or 3 hours on an abstract area of the history of philosophy or philosophy of science. I didn't have this when I was a kid. I studied philosophy actually, and I went on to study science, and you didn't have Sam Harris, you didn't have the Weinsteins, you didn't have any of these kinds of things. And I think that's very encouraging. It shows that the general public has an appetite for these kinds of discussions. I think that's good. I think that's and I think it's a shame that I hate using the term mainstream media. It makes me sound like Alex Jones. I don't mean it like that. But well, no, I know. I mean, well, that's the other thing, of course, is that as well as human beings having an appetite for genuine discussion, they also have an appetite. Of course, Alex Jones said that with Rogan, but they also have an appetite for that kind of nonsense. I suppose it's more uncurated, but there has to be something encouraging about the fact that somebody like Rogan, 2 million, you'll be on his show and there'll be 2 million people listening to it, and you'll be talking about fairly technical issues. And I was listening to him the other day, and somebody was saying, well, don't you ever worry that you get it in the neck and you're going to be seen as hate-filled? I say, well, I think it's that I'm not hate-filled, and I think it is obvious that Rogan isn't hate-filled. It's obvious that you're not. Maybe it's just. Maybe it seems like the Twitter sphere. I mean, maybe it's just that short form.
It is. It is.
It's just not conducive to any kind of nuanced discussion. Is that?
It's not.
J.K. Rowling.
It's not.
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It's the Zoom thing where I'm getting in your way. Sorry. I want to hear you talk, not me talk.
No, but I want to know. So you're right. There's no place to have discussion, and you're not in the transgender community, so I can say this. We do not have discussion. It is actually so divided. There are camps. We have created camps, the non-binary, the transgender, the transsexuals, the F to Ms. I mean, literally, we have divided into spaces where you're not trans, you are trans, you're a trans trender. They've created these like acronyms that are like, somebody like myself is called a true scum, which is somebody who believes in medical. And I'm like, why are you kids creating slurs to other trans people? Do you not see the detrimental space you are putting us in? You are dividing us, and divide and conquer. That's basic war right there. Divide and conquer the enemy. And that's exactly what they're doing out there. So in my brain, I'm like, who are these people that have come into our transgender community? Are they really transgender? Or there's some kind of, I mean, I sound crazy, I know that, but I literally have to look at this in a way that said, like a scientist, like what's happening here? Because something cruxed and literally divided us, gave us insanity. We have so much insane mental health in the trans community that I've never seen what I see today. And that's alarming to me. I see children saying things that saying, fuck you, bitch, suck my tranny dick. Like, what? This is a 14-year-old saying that. I'm like, how are we so low? That is low. That is not high. We're not taking the high road. We're literally putting ourselves into a space of gross, nasty, mean, ugly. That's not transgender. That's something else that is attached to society today, attached to anger, attached to kids not, whatever kids aren't getting. Kids have to deal with the internet. I did it. You possibly did it. That is another level. And we're not addressing this. Let's take the trans stuff off the table. We're not addressing what children are having to deal with on a daily basis. Bullying on the internet, having to, get into, me and you, we got to get into groups at school, which was maybe 10 or whatever people. They're literally in groups of millions. If you say the wrong thing, they will take you out. Oh, I couldn't even imagine being a kid today and having to deal with that stress. So really, you and I know it's layers upon layers of stuff these children are dealing with. And then now they're vulnerable and they're being attached by whoever these other transgender people are, who are very powerful, and they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly. It's basically building an army. They're the minions of the children are the minions of the trans community. And they're sort of like the little Nazi soldiers who are like spewing all the anger and hate so that it can. Yeah, I totally see that. I totally see that.
This is a fascinating perspective. So I want to come back to the true scum bit in a second, if that's okay. Can I circle back to what you said about transsexual being suddenly a dirty word, because
Yes.
it wasn't a dirty word when I first heard it. And
Mm.
and I've got a PhD student who's she's actually studying problems that trans people have in Ireland, getting access to healthcare. That's her PhD.
Okay.
And so she's
Great.
doctors and doing trans folk. And that's
Great.
part of my into the community, and it's interesting, and we're getting, we've got research money to do it, and
Wow.
so I often see things through her perspective. She introduced me to this term true scum because she said she got called it herself. That's interesting. But also because I was writing some of this stuff up, she said, "Oh," and I'd used the word transsexual. She said, "Oh, you can't use that. Here's the preferred term." No, that's not criticism. I mean, I will always try, unless the preferred terms are insane, I will always, I certainly don't go out my way to insult people.
Right, of course.
Talk me through what happened there. I'd be interested to know what the history was of that.
Thank you so much for asking, my friend. I have been on the forefront of bringing back that term, transsexual. I've been fighting for it for 5 years. They literally tried to take it. They took it out of the DSM. They took it out of all the literature. They took it out of anything that has to do with trans. They called it derogatory. They called it antiquated. All kinds. I was like, wait a minute. This is my actual identity. I am a transsexual. I'm not trans. So, and the reason I said that is because of this. Transgender became an umbrella term. It is an umbrella term. Transgender encompasses 87 different gender variations, except transsexual. So I said, but wait a minute. This is not okay. There are millions of kids like me who just want to transition to be men and women. That's it. They don't want to be trans. They don't want to be part of that nonsense. They just want to be a man or a woman. So I really fought to get this word put back into the books, which it has, and because it actually distinguishes. It distinguishes between the transgender umbrella and somebody who has gender dysphoria, who needs medical transitioning, and literally lives in the binary. So that is a transsexual, and it is not. You need to take this back to your friend, and tell her that if she needs to talk to me, she should, because transsexual is not derogatory. Yeah, right on. Right on.
None of this was done with any kind of rancor.
No, of course not. Of course not. I'm mad at the community. Yeah, no, I'm mad at the community for actually trying to take this out and then insulting people like me, insulting us by calling us true scum and by calling us these names as if you don't need. Those are the kids who are saying you don't need gender dysphoria to be trans. I'm like, wait a minute. Now you've totally co-opted and changed the whole idea. Yes, you do need gender dysphoria, number one. Yes, you are biologically. Now they're also saying biology doesn't exist. I'm like, okay. That's it. There's something wrong here.
Right. Well, but this is, me as a psychologist with biology training course, this is fascinating, because one of the things that's incredibly obvious about human beings is that I'm one of you, we are uncomfortable with the fact that we're animals. Okay, that is something that humans have always been uncomfortable about. This is not a Western thing or a modern thing. Freud drew attention to it 150 years ago, and lots of people got very sniffy about Freud, and he's not a proper scientist, and there's all kinds of things people say. Said that absolutely bang on the nail was that humans are the only animals that they're not. And I wonder how much that what we're seeing here is a manifestation of some of that, a discomfort with discomfort with the fact that they are animals. I wonder what your take was on that. I mean, obviously we're very complicated animals. We're insanely complicated animals with an interest. We're storytelling animals. We tell ourselves a story about the kind of stuff. Sometimes that story is congruent with how other people see us, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's congruent with the way we feel about ourselves, and sometimes it isn't. You obviously have a very interesting perspective on that, and one of the interesting things is it took you a while to work through that. Where someone comes along with a kind of well, yes, I get the fact that you're feeling uncomfortable, and that's part of the condition. And I go, but I can solve your discomfort in a very, very easy way. It's a very interesting thing to dangle in front of humans, isn't it? Because they're all feeling discomfort, because none of us are completely comfortable with that. Is that?
Excellent.
I wonder what you thought about this.
Excellent. Of course. And I'm going to go back to the
I solved it.
kids.
There you go.
Excellent. You solved it. I'm going to go back to the kids. Come on, people, wake up. Kids don't know who they are. I mean, of course. And I'm going to use myself for an example. I always felt like a boy. I acted like a boy. I ran around like a boy. My parents did not transition me at 10, and nor would
Right.
they have. They would not have done it. But that said, yeah, I fucking went through turmoil. And this, I don't want this for children, but you need to hear what I have to say. I was a suicidal at 16.
Wow.
Cutter. I was alcoholic. I was a mess. I was a mess. I don't want any child to go through that. But at the same time, my parents sent me to a psychologist. My parents sent me to a lot of mental health care. This was in the 70s and the 80s. Like, are you kidding? Way before any of this shit. And my parents had the understanding that there's something psychological happening with me. There is something psychological happening with these kids. And now they're saying, well, if we give them hormone blockers, they won't have that psychological. Oh, really? Are you kidding me? How do you know kids that well? Nobody knows kids that well. Kids change every single day. Not only that, do we understand the long-term effects of hormone blockers? Hormones are how come we are alive. And it's the reason why our body functions. It's everything that we are. We are hormones. When you block a hormone, how do you know that's not in some way detrimental to the length, to the future of this human being? Do you understand?
Well, I mean, just the fact that the fact that you and I have got testosterone in our bodies means that our lives have been shortened by what, 5 to 7 years, something like that.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, that's I kind of have to accept that unless I get castrated.
I do too.
You've looked it in the eye and gone, I that's
right on.
I accept that. I accept the risk. It makes it sound like it's taking it on a weekend. I don't mean it like that. As a guy, your life is shortened, because testosterone is poisonous.
That's right. That's right.
That's
right. So that's why I fight for biology, my friend, because I'm a female. I am an ugly female, but I'm a female. I will biologically, I'm a woman. And when we take biology off, that's the reason you're a transgender person. It's biology. It's all connected to biology. When you try to take biology off the table, that's something else. But you are hurting me, and you're hurting my medical space if you tell people that I am not biologically female and that I'm just a man. This rhetoric that trans men are men and trans women are women. No, we're not. We're trans men and we're trans women. And when you take that little equation out of it, okay, so for example, I have to go to the gynecologist. It's not easy and it sucks, but I have a vagina. And I can't walk into the gynecological office and go, yeah, I'm a man and I'm going to get a they're going to go like, what, dude? Get the fuck out of here. And I'm going to walk in and say, I'm a trans person and I need this. Then it's totally okay and no one cares. But that's why I'm so sick and tired of it's unethical of this community. It's also dangerous for this community to start spewing stuff like biology doesn't exist. 99% of the world lives in their biology. So we're choosing the wrong fight. We're choosing the wrong fight. It will never happen, and it will set us back a million years. And that, it's.
Well, that's a difficult question then, and please feel free to tell me to shut up and mind my business. But given the story you just told, do you would seem like for some people the poster child of someone who would have benefited from early transition, and but yet you are absolutely certain. You're absolutely certain that would have been the wrong thing to do.
Yep.
And the tough journey you went down was basically the only road that you could have gone down. Could you say some more about that, why you're sure about that? Because some people would say, well,
I will.
And that's a very difficult question, and I'm sorry if it takes you to difficult places.
No, it's a great question. It's a great question. Now, again, I'm not okay with a specific age not being taking any kind of medication. I'm totally against that because I don't see studies. If I saw studies, I would be like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's get these kids on. But they keep the transgender cult keeps shutting down the studies. Why are we shutting down studies? I don't care what you say. When you shut down studies, that means you're hiding something. That means you don't want people to see. I'm a trans person. I want studies. I want these kids to transition healthy, where they become awesome people in the world, but they're not going to when we're using them as experiments. I was an experiment. So that said, yeah, I am going to tell you as an elder trans man, we need to take this slower, and we need to look deeper, and we need to understand the detrimental space. Yeah, maybe this kid is mentally, so here's the argument they give me. Well, Buck, what about the fact that these kids are turmoil because they feel like a boy, yet they're a girl? I'm like, so sometimes you got to have a little pushback in life in order to become a better person. That's real. If we take out every obstacle from youth, that means they can't have arguments. They're getting their feelings hurt. They take out debate class out of school because kids are getting, if we take out every obstacle, what are we creating? We're creating like weird ass. There you go. Resilience.
Put words in your mouth here.
Yeah, that's the reason why. I don't think 16-year-olds, I think 16-year-olds could transition. I do think that. And I think that they could possibly start to understand a little more about themselves. 16, 17, I think you're getting to a place, yeah, it might 100% benefit you if you are taking steps to do that. And you're not just, you know, we have a thing called self-ID, and I think it's in Ireland too now, which is a dangerous, oh my God. Yes. It's so dangerous. It's like literally any kid can say I'm trans, and any kid can get hormones, and any kid. That is so dumb, and that is so, it's irresponsible of our community. Irresponsible.
Well, I wanted to ask you about, you've anticipated my question brilliantly. I think I don't think there's any question that it's been done for kind reasons. I'm not saying all its results will be kind, but I think people look at the difficulty of getting through the gatekeepers who give people access to like surgery and hormones, and they go, we want to make that as smooth, and we don't want it to be humiliating, we don't want it to be unpleasant, we don't want it to be dangerous, or any of these things. And so the kindest thing to do is just go, well, if you feel that way, we're going to open the doors to you. You're saying that there's some unintended consequences.
Because there's no, okay, first off, this idea of gatekeeping is ridiculous. That's why I changed it to safekeeping. I don't call it gatekeeping, I call it safekeeping, because there's a reason you have structure. Is there a reason that you have structure in society? Is there a reason you have structure when you build a bridge? Is there a reason you have structure? Because structure is a solid formation that keeps things solid. When you have no structure and you're just saying, letting kids be happy because they need to take hormones, those kids don't know what they're doing. They're relying on adults, and that's why there's children and adults. And so when the adults say, oh, go ahead, just do whatever you want, now these kids, they have no discipline, they have no structure, they don't know what they're doing. All they know is, yeah, I feel trans today, and then they're like literally getting whatever they need. That is not structure. And I'm telling you, the reason why I actually feel that I have never looked back, I have never thought I made the wrong choice, I have never in any way, shape, or form done anything but go up from my transition, is because I had structure. I went to mental health care, I took my time, it was hard. It's not easy. You wanna be a man right now, but that's not the reality of the situation. You gotta take your time in order to build this bridge, or build this. I took my time to build this person, and that's why I feel so grounded and so happy to be alive today. But we have kids that are detransitioning. Detransitioning says everything to me. It says, yes, see, they're taking the step that's not right for them. And thousands upon thousands, I'm not kidding, thousands of these youth are now saying, I made a mistake. And I say to them, why did you make this mistake, kiddo? And the first thing they say to me is, because nobody questioned me. Nobody questioned me. I just
you're talking to these people. So this is what, because you're an activist, because you're a very visible person in the community. You're getting people. Are you documenting it?
Yes, I am. And
okay, good.
And also we're doing a study. I'm doing a study with a very big person in a university, and we're doing a study on detransitioning. I'm not playing around here, kiddo. I'm not playing around with these kids. I'm going to show you why we need to buckle down and have a structure. And that's why people in this community, there's certain people who do not like me, because I'm saying, go fuck yourself. These kids are so vulnerable. That it breaks my heart.
Well, I mean, you do highlight something which seems to be so obvious that it seems almost bizarre that somebody has to say it. But of course, kids are vulnerable. I mean, at no point in history of people sort of comfortably gone, oh well, let's just throw kids to whatever sexual wolves out there.
Right.
And obviously there's going to be conflict there, and you know it's obvious that there's going to be parent-offspring conflict and intergenerational conflict. It's never going to be easy. Nope. It's not to think. I mean, here's the thing that's puzzled some people, and I almost hesitate to say this, but I'm gonna
please
plow ahead damn the consequences. I remember when I was a youngster, we had transvestites. There was a thing called transvestism.
That's right.
And it was mostly guys dressing as gals. And they were mostly sexual guys. And they might have had some kind of sense that somehow there was a personality that was like a persona. And I go to meet up with people who were transvestites, and they would present themselves as female. And because you're polite, you talk to the person with the name that they present themselves as, because I mean, anything else would be impolite. Those people seem to have disappeared. And is that just my impression, or is that actually a thing that's happened? And if they have disappeared, where have they gone?
So this is an awesome question. And as you know, we used to have...
I feel a possible career-ending question, but there it is.
No, because you're talking to me. Now, if you were talking...
I have tenure anyway.
So it doesn't... Right, awesome. Awesome, way to go. You have strength. So that said, even though in the United States, they've actually taken professors out who have tenure. It's so scary. Oh my God, that's a whole other conversation. But that said, transvestite, cross-dressers, all of those types of things were always considered within the trans space. They're different than me. They're not, a transvestite is like a cross-dresser, somebody who wants to dress like, who's a man. Mostly it's men. I never see women so much in that space. And we call those men, we call women who transition or who dress like men, just like butch lesbians, or mostly that was that space. But a man who wants to dress like a lady is and not because they want to be a lady and not because they want to transition, but it's basically somebody who's putting that on because it either sexually makes them feel sexually happy, or it's just that they want to be dressed as a woman for the day. And it's a completely different space than a transsexual. And it is not a derogatory word, but what I see today is, you're right, the elimination of transvestite, because that's what I'm telling you. I think transvestites are getting sucked into this ideology of trans, and now that's messing with their own identity of, well, why can't I just dress like a woman today and then just be a man? Which you can, but do you understand what I'm saying? It is again a co-opting of our community and our language and sort of smoothing everything out. I equate it to Iran. It's a lot of the same thing, where in Iran, they transition you. They don't want you to be a homosexual. So they're just like, no, be a man, be a woman. It's kind of the same in our community. They don't want you to be a cross-dresser.
So, I mean, is this once again, is this a discomfort with, because you do often hear that, well, this sexual desire isn't part of identity. So there's pushback against Ray Blanchard's concept of autogynephilia. Which I'm familiar with it, but I'll just say, because anyone who's listening might not have come across it. So Ray Blanchard has got this idea that autogynephilia is something that's kind of on a spectrum with transvestism. It's a fetishizing of yourself as a man. You sort of put yourself into a sort of a fetishized persona of yourself as a woman, and there's a sexual component to that. Now, that's not the same as being trans, but it's kind of got some elements of it. Are uncomfortable with the idea that, well, yes, of course, part of our identity is around things like hormones and genitals, and because that's how mammals work. You know, that's just a thing about, well, actually it's not even just mammals, is it? I mean, it's how any sexually reproducing organism works. And we are the creature that covers up its genitalia. I mean, you know, that's right. No other creature does that routinely. Right, but why are they eliminating? So that's the thing, that why they're why I feel, because you're right, being a trans person has nothing to do with my sexuality at all. My sexuality is a different space. But that said,
That's why transvestite or crossdresser has been trying to be eliminated under the trans space, because it's a more sexualized thing. And I think that, you know, how people are talking about a lot of times now, we have these like pedophiles entering the trans community on some level and using it as a way to shade them. And I believe that's true. I believe that's true.
No, there are some. Yes, there are, and there's some there are some rapists, like people like Karen White, who are, you know, you cannot. I mean, a sex offender will say almost anything to get access to.
That's right. That's exactly. That's right. Thank you for saying that. So because the trans community is like, oh, that's transphobic. No, it's not. It's actual reality. And if we as trans community don't have this conversation, then we're being irresponsible, because there are people who are using our community in order to become pedophiles or rapists or whatever the fuck they're doing. And the same with any community. The gay men's community has pedophilia. The same way they're using it to get
the teaching community, the scouting community, the clerical community. I mean,
that's right. Any community. That's right.
Seem to have a cover. You know, there will be people who will go, oh, all right, yeah, this is a cover for me. Why would this one be any different?
That's right. You know, yes, and that's the concern with women. So women have a voice. J.K. Rowling has a voice that says, we see this happening. We see people that say they're transgender women when they look like me or you, and they're saying they're transgender women. And again, now I'm not making any, that's their space. They can look and be however the fuck they want. I don't care. But I'm not a woman. But women are saying, we're uncomfortable with you coming into our space and looking like a man, having a penis, and calling yourself a lesbian. Now, why are women not allowed to have feelings around that? And why is that transphobic? That is not transphobic in any way, shape, or form. It's women saying, we are a suppressed group of people. We've always been a suppressed group of people, and we don't want to be dealing with this right now. We have our own concerns, and we don't feel safe. They don't feel safe. Why are trans people acting so insane? Like, that's transphobic. It's not. It's a concern that women have.
Well, let's. Can I push the conversation that we've gone this far? Let's carry on.
I know. I gotta go. Okay, so let's do this.
All right. Yeah. Well, okay. So quickly. Well, I mean, the pushback against that will be somebody saying, "Well, why are you so obsessed with genitalia?"
Right.
Right. And, or looks. My response to that would be, "Why are you pretending that you're not?" I mean, they're always obsessed with it, which is why they cover it up, which is why they have all kinds of rules about what can be shown and what can't. Now,
that's right.
Of course, we don't, you know, the fact that we are so obsessed with it. I know I'm sounding like a poison. I swear I'm not one. But you know, he had a point, you know, that we cover this up. We cover up our genitalia, and so we have all kinds of ways of getting around that. But anyway, I don't want to make this about what I thought. I wonder what you thought about that.
No, I love it. When you but they do that again. No, friend, you know as well as I do, words can be very manipulative. You can manipulate people with words. You can manipulate with intent. It's all about intent. And that's the thing people forget. They always take that out of the conversation. What is your intent? What is the intention of your conversation? When you say to me, hey, Buck, so you have a vagina and I want to know, what's your intention? Is your intention to shame me, or is your intention really curiosity? And this is where our community has become so ridiculously sensitive over everything. It's dumb. It's dumb and stupid and immature. And so what, of course, what you said was brilliant, my friend. We all have a curiosity of genitals. I don't care if you're trans or not. We have a curiosity of how big is your penis? What does this look like? You know, we've always been that way. So it's, again, here, I'm going to leave you with this. I really believe the transgender community has become something other than where I came from. I believe now it's been co-opted into a space that says you can't say anything about us, and if you don't get on board with us, you are transphobic, blah, 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 blah. That is cult-like behavior. And that is not the community I come from, and it is not a community to me. And so why I believe that we need to start to speak out against some of the stuff that is coming out of this community, because it will be detrimental to the health of the future of the transgender community. And that's how I feel about it.
Well, that's a great spot to end. Can I just say, thanks. It's been a blast talking to you. I'm really glad to make all these years.
Yep.
Please stay in touch. And
please stay in touch.
Whatever studies you're doing, please, I'm going to
send them to you. I'm going to send them to you. And are you following me on Twitter?
I'm not,
It's
but
okay
I
if
will.
you're not. Don't worry.
No,
Don't. Don't get. Don't.
I'm new to Twitter, and I'm slightly unsure
Don't.
about Twitter.
But I'm going to
But
send
I
you an
will.
email with everything. Just don't. Don't. It's a
Please do,
shit show.
and I will suggest you join SexNet though, because it will give you
Oh yeah,
access.
I'm going to. So I'm going
and
to
I'll
send you an email, and you're going to send me back an email with information, and then we're going to be centered. But now we're connected, my friend, and I appreciate you very much. Thank you for reaching out to me.
I've
Yeah.
learned a lot. Thank you very much indeed.
Right on, my
Much
friend.
obliged.
Excellent. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.